Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness with your luscious hostess, May Vu, broadcasting live every Monday at 12 noon Pacific Time.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Mondays are my favorite days because I get to host these amazing shows, talking to people around the world about their relationships and their sex. Today, I have with me Susan Sabert, a new friend from Pennsylvania in the United States. She is 40-something, a professional coach, no kids, just little animals. And she's a normal, average woman when you see her. Well, I don't know her in person. I've only seen her on Skype and Google+. And she looks very normal, like you and me, and very sweet and demure and nothing extraordinary, you know, until she told me something very extraordinary that she did a few years ago that I just had to have her on the show. It's like, Susan, you have to come on my show and tell us how you did it. I want details. I want step-by-step unfolding because most of us don't know how to do what you did. And the thing that she did, wow. She got really honest with her monogamous husband of 22 years, and then she asked to open up their marriage and let her explore with other men. And if that wasn't unreasonable enough, she even had one of her lovers move in and live with them. Right? I mean, this is pretty crazy and unreasonable. So, Susan, welcome to the show.
And thank you. I am so unbelievably excited to be here and share all this wonderful unfolding with anybody and everybody.
Yeah, well, it's like, honey, tell them a little bit about yourself so that they know who you are, and then I want you to like slowly and with great details to tell us how you did it. Oh my God, you know, what was the mindset, and then what was like the first time you sit him down. Anyway, I can't stop myself around it.
Well, yes, we'll get there.
Okay.
So let me just paint a little picture about me. I am definitely, an average, typical woman, you know, but I don't think that any women are really that average or typical. I am a professional. I'm also a coach. I definitely feel in the last 3 or 4 years I've transitioned my life through coaching. And that's sort of like where a lot of my relationship changes have come into play. But just a little bit more about me. So I have been married 22 years, totally a monogamous relationship. And I was really happy for the majority of that time. Mm-hmm. And I live in central Pennsylvania, not the most exciting of places.
I know, not even Vegas, right?
No.
Do they do this in Pennsylvania?
Sleepy little central PA.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a wonderful life. I'm extraordinarily happy. And a couple of years ago, I decided that I could be even happier, and I really wanted more. I started reading the Twilight series, which, you know, a lot of us did a couple of years ago, and got totally infatuated with the whole story. And
let's slow that down for a second, because I didn't. Yeah. I tried to get into the Twilight series, and I just couldn't. It just didn't grab me or didn't bite me. Anyway, so tell me a little bit of like what was it about that theme that ignite this for you?
Yeah, for me it really came to the point of remembering what the electricity could be like between two people who were, you know, just had that chemical or biological, like I have to be with you type feeling. And just being close to somebody, how electric, and oh my God, it just kind of gets me going right now.
So it's fair to say that after 22 years, you didn't have that electricity. You had the comfort and the love and the depth of it, but not the electricity.
Exactly. And gosh, it was just really, it was so much fun at first to tap back into that and be reconnected. Like, I felt like it was really a reawakening for me. And for me, it was also a period of time where I was going through a huge amount of transformation through coaching. And I had done CTI's leadership program right at the same time. So monumental, shift going on. And I got clear on the fact that, as comfortable and secure and everything in my relationship that I was, I was missing that juice and the spark and the electricity and the phenomenally hot sex. And, it was everything was great, but
I call that the 8 life.
Yeah.
Like if we were to rank our life from 0 to 10, 10 is like, woo, oh my God, everything's going groovy and everything. 8 is like really solid, really stable, really together. People would kill for an 8 life,
Exactly.
Right. And
people would kill. They held my relationship up with my husband as the prototype. Like, if you're going to have a successful relationship, this is what it looks like. You look at them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those.
And when I realized, I'm like, well, God damn, I'm really not that happy. In the ways that I wanted more.
Right. And it's like that place is really difficult because it brings up guilt when you explore that place. Like, how dare I not love this and not pour everything I have into it and make it the only thing for me to, right? Because, like, how dare you take it for granted? And lots of judgment could get right at you, both from inside and outside, if you bring that up.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I mean, I sat in that place with that guilt that you just described, May, for, a couple months.
Yeah.
And then, things, I said, well, geez, everything's great. People would kill for this. I'm financially secure. Blah, blah, whatever.
Right.
Make up just a lie. I seduced myself with those lies. And then I also got really clear with myself again. I kicked my own ass, and I'm like, you're not happy. You're not having the life and the sex and the connection and the, oh my God, all those amazing things that you really want and deserve. And when I got really, really clear, and again, it was a process of probably 6 months.
But
I remember.
Sorry, I have to say, 6 months is nothing, honey. I mean, like, I think mine was like 3 or 5 years of just sitting and denying that, and denying and suppressing. And let me take one more workshop so I can think through myself, so that I can, undo this desire, so that I can just slow it down. So 6 months, I applaud you for really listening to yourself and really responding to your desire.
Oh my God, it felt like 5 years. Because, once I had that, once I knew, you just, like, couldn't stop it. It was like a boulder rolling downhill, and picking up steam. And, it's like, holy hell, I better watch out, because I'm going to get trampled if I don't get out of my own way. And I would put a toe in and start exploring.
And what does that look like, to put a toe in and start exploring?
Gosh, for me, there was, for once, it started with me getting reawakened or in touch with my my own sexuality, my own sensuality, loving my body. And gosh, boy, that was a fire starter.
What does that look like? Loving your body and getting in touch with. I mean, I hear the words, but what were the activities that went with those words?
Well, gosh, a lot of dancing, which I never really felt comfortable doing before. There was a ton of that, and just being completely expressive and letting my creativity flow. And that was, for me, that was like through dance. It was through painting. Any other ways that I could, manifest that energy that I wasn't able to have an outlet sexually, because I tried, and my husband was like not really like that interested at that point. Even though it's like, man, I'm like gonna give you some hot action here, buddy. And he just was not into it. So
if I may share, like somehow you just reminded me of that moment for me too, and it was with dancing also. Like I was at that time, I was a mom. My daughter was like 2 to 3 years old, and then somehow this one evening, it all just came together where she was with her dad and they were off somewhere else. I was free for the evenings, like, and then out of the blue, this woman that I knew invited me to her home for a party, and then there was like a garden party, and there was music and light, and then this boy came and asked me to dance. I was 39, and this young kid of like, I don't know, 29 or 30 or something like that. It just felt like I was so old because I was a mother already, And he came and he asked me to dance. And he was such a great dancer. Like all my life, I've never danced. Always wanted to dance with a great dancer. And he was so hot and just like twirled me around. And all this stuff ignited and exploded inside me. And I'm like, I'm going to go home now.
See, I had some similar experiences, and it started for me with just like kind of freeing myself up with women. I didn't have any type of physical or sexual relationships with women, but maybe I felt safer reconnecting with my body that way, and dancing and just being out with my friends. And it's not dancing like, hey, I'm on American Bandstand or something, but, hey, I'm like grinding and getting, really.
So it's the, hey, I'm sexy and I know it kind of dancing.
That's right. Exactly.
And it's just so delicious to be at that time. How old were you? You were?
42, 43.
Yeah, and I was 39, knocking on 40.
Yeah.
And it just was so nice to be reignited to that. And I just didn't want to squelch it this time. I squelched it in my 20s, and so I didn't want to squelch it this time.
Yeah. And when that fire started again for me, that's and not wanting to squelch it, I was asking myself, geez, I have these desires, and desires, we need to act on them. And yet I would dialogue with myself internally, well, geez, if I follow my desire, that means that I'm probably not going to have a relationship with my husband, or am I going to have an affair, or what's that look like? And I found myself just like circling all of society's rules.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, what are my parents going to think? What about people at work? Oh my God. I made up all kinds of lies and assumptions.
Yeah.
And
all in the name of all in the name of responsibility.
Responsibility of being appropriate.
Yes, all in the name of that. Yeah.
Appropriate, yeah. And I remember the day, this is going back to almost to the moment when I decided, like, fuck this, I And I got to the point where I was willing to walk away from my marriage, even though that's not really what I wanted. But I was willing to because I needed this so badly.
Yeah.
I needed to feel and be able to explore my sexuality.
Yeah.
And my husband wasn't at a point where he could support that with me and do that with me. So I needed to go out and explore. And
so at this point, have you told him any of this yet?
Well, I mean, we had talked all up until this point of, I was feeling frustrated. I was wanting more. I was like, we had really long and, really significant, deep conversations about how I was feeling, how he was feeling. And we would come back to our relationship being really key and important. And I was ready to explore, and I needed that for me. And he was just stuck. He was at a point where he was really stuck, and he knew he was. And he acknowledged it. And I think that through their conversations, he realized that he wasn't able to give me what I needed. But he supported me in what I needed to do for myself. And, then when we start making the transition to, okay, so I need to have a new person in my life.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. We keep stepping over this part because this is actually really very mundane, but it's really important. Like, how do you even approach the subject with someone that you've been married to, and you know their pattern? He's stuck, and so we all, I think, if anyone's listening to this show, they know what a stuck man look like and feel like, right? And so it's that paradox, right? So they're stuck, so they don't want to talk about things like this because that brings up a lot of shit for them to deal with. And then there's defensiveness, and then there's anger and all that stuff. So it's not a smooth sailing thing. It's like, Susan, how did you even have the courage to go, honey, sit down, let me get you a drink, like this. here's another drink, how about another one, and by the way, blah, 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 I just want to know, I want to have more sex, and then back to the TV, like, how do you have that very first conversation that stopped the air from breathing, stopped everything?
Well, this is so interesting because what you use the word mundane, and to some degree, it almost describes what our first conversation was like when we were talking about this. Like oh my God, I beat around the bush, hemmed and hawed to have this conversation. It took me, probably a couple weeks till I had the courage, and I just kept coming back to, what do I want for our relationship? What do I want for me? What do I want for him? And when I kind of used those foundation points or held that as my stake, I wanted us to both and in our relationship be really happy. And that's ultimately, that was my goal, and I led with that. But it took me, like I said, a really long time.
Yeah, I know.
And when we started having the conversation, I described it to somebody once like it felt like we were having a conversation about doing our taxes.
How did it sound?
It was like, well, honey, I love you, and I really need more in my life, and I want more. Okay, what does that mean? What do you want? And there was no heated discussion. It was not angry or.
So it's like, honey, it's April 15. I think we need to do our taxes now. Oh, okay. So what would you like to do? Do you want to do the receipt, or shall I do it?
Exactly. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, I was like outside my body witnessing this. Like, I'm saying to you, dear, that I'm going to go out and I'm going to have sex with somebody else. Or do you not care? Are you not upset? And I think what you were hitting on, May, was, you know, it brings up for him and for maybe other people in that situation that defensiveness, the guilt, that he didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
He wanted to support me, which was great, but there wasn't a lot of talking, which was a pattern that he displayed throughout our relationship.
Yeah. That's called stonewalling, by the way, just in case people don't recognize what that's called. It's called stonewalling. When one refuses to say anything. And you feel really stuck at the gate, you know, like I can't move past this wall.
You know, one thing, May, you and I hadn't talked about, but it was probably 7-8 years before this, I had found out that he had had a couple of affairs. Mm-hmm. And I confronted him about it. And at that point, it's really interesting. Like he didn't really want to talk about it either because he was so guilty. Mm. He was, you know. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
It's just I'm noticing that pattern, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, getting back to that conversation and that clarity, like. I realized when I would be okay with walking away from my marriage. I would be okay with confronting my parents, you know, or whoever, and saying, you know, this is what's happening in my life. And I don't care how you respond. I'm okay with it because I know I need more.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to slow you down here for a second because I want to speak to this paradox for a second because it's actually really important. This place that you arrived at is so crucial because we have to kind of get to a place of like do or die place, kind of like the burning your bridge kind of thing. Like there's no point of return, right? And at the same time, that's what we do, is that we keep setting ourselves up as in order for me to have my desire, I have to give up everything else to have my desire. That's why most of us don't have our desires, because it costs too much. Now, who wants that, right? I mean, like, everything else around us would fall apart.
Yeah.
So I want to just slow us down and say, what I learned from having done the same exact thing, you know, having to feel like I had to break my marriage and throw it away in order to have what I want, there is actually a different way to have both. We can have what we want if we just have the courage to start naming what it is that we want and then getting some help to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leapfrog too far ahead, but I guess I'm just noticing that that's the point where I was able to start that conversation.
Yeah.
And
like you need that place of like, okay, I'm willing to walk away from my marriage and everything I have to have what I want, and know that you don't have to have it. So I just wanted the audience to know that, you know.
Yeah. And so interestingly, when I got to that point of getting crystal clear, that night I was invited to a party. I was going to go with a bunch of friends, and of course at the last minute everybody like bailed, like, oh, and it was a Saturday night. It's like, 10 o'clock, and I'm like, man, I just want to go. I want to go out, even if I just go for an hour or two.
Yeah.
I want to go have fun.
Right.
And that's when I met my new man at the party. And I wasn't looking for him that I thought about. I was just going to go. I want to get out of the house. And that's when I met him. Yeah. And that really changed my life. That, like, I was realizing, or maybe I figured out that I had manifested that because I've been creating this for so long, and it finally, that part of it came to fruition. Meeting somebody else who, I could connect with and, had amazing hot sex with.
Yeah. Like, to reignite that, yeah.
Wow. Like, better sex than I ever thought it could be.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and there, like, once you have that, there's, like, for me at least, there's no going back. I wasn't going to settle for anything less.
Honey, it's like wild horses that you just open the gate, man. There's just nothing. There's nothing you can hold back on all that energy, all that aliveness, all that sexuality. It wants out.
Oh yeah, and like before I met him, his name's Andy. Before I met him, when I was like talking about dipping my toe in, and I was like experimenting with, like, I started going out like late at night. Like, I would like, I'd sneak out of the house. Like, before I had the courage to like tell my husband I was doing these things, or saying, hey, I'm gonna go out to a party. I'd get up at like 1:00 in the morning and sneak out of the house.
Wow.
And go to a party and come home at like 4 in the morning.
You're like a teenager.
I was reliving that rebellion, and all of those things.
Yeah.
Like I was, 15, 16 again.
Yeah. I think this is also an important part, because I think a lot of times people don't recognize this and really honor this, but part of being an adult is to reclaim all of ourselves. And the teenager is a vital part of us that we need to reclaim. Like, when we went through our teenager in our teens, we really didn't have the capacity to really understand her, what she was up to. So now that we're in our 40s, going through that, it's like a reclaiming of that teenager place. But so you get to act like a teenager, and you also have the adult observer to observe you as you go through it, so that you can guide this teenager to make better choices and yet still live that energy and that juice that the teenager has, right? It's so good. Yeah.
And I hadn't really thought about it, that with the way that you connected it. It's really beautiful, and I am glad for that.
Okay, hold on a second. Google Plus just got a little wacko. Say that again.
Oh. Just the awareness of the teenager, and I was doing some dangerous things.
Yeah.
And my adult self, was able to look at that and say, okay, well, these are the choices that you're making. There's some consequences, and it, kind of helps, just rein me in a little bit. I still, was rebellious and did a lot of stuff, but
yeah. Oh, wait, that reminds me. The reason why I wanted to highlight that is that I hear a lot of stories of some women who got to this part, in their life, and then their teenager takes over, and then they go to that place of being stuck, they set themselves up like the husband is now the bad guy, and then you fight against him, and then you just create all sorts of poop. So that's why it's important to know that this is just your teenager acting out. It's important to guide this teenager energy to direct it to an adult, mature outcome, rather than just cheating and lying and then defensive and all that craziness that you can just make it really messy.
Jesus, I wish you had been my coach when I Oh my God.
What mess did you make, honey?
Oh, I made so many messes. It was oh my God. And
well, you got to tell us one of them. You can't look like that and mourn about it and not say it. You got to tell us one.
Oh gosh, messes. Let's see. Well, it is kind of a mess, and it also goes to kind of the small town nature of where I live.
Yeah.
So the night of the party where I met Andy, I stayed out all night, didn't come home, had amazing, crazy, I'm sure everybody in the whole town heard, the raucous sex that we were having. And
where did you have the sex at? In the car or in the park or where?
Hotel room.
Oh, great.
Hotel. Got a hotel that night. Yeah.
This is the beauty of being an adult doing teenage sex. At least we have class enough to get a motel room.
Well, that was that night. You know, there's cars many other nights. So, you know, I wake up the next morning. It's like, you know, 9, 10 o'clock. I finally go home. You know, I confront my husband. His concern was that I was safe.
Yeah.
And everything was fine. So this was a Sunday. I had to go into work at that point because we had this big project. So I walk in at like noon on a Sunday with my coworkers and my boss. The first thing my boss says to me, "Wow, heard you rock some kid's world last night."
Ooh.
I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, yeah, we all heard about it. So, heard everything about what happened. Yeah. I was like, how in the world did this happen?
Yeah.
And it's because Andy, in all of his excitement, and
how old is he? How old was he when compared to this?
27.
Yay! A younger guy. You did the whole cougar thing and everything. Which is, by the way, is not very flattering when we're labeled that.
Exactly. And he thought I was 33, which is fantastic. I remember I said, well, the second 3 is correct, but you need to put a 4 in front of it. But he had told his cousin, who then happened to be dating one of my coworkers, who whatever.
Yeah.
So it was just a mess because everybody I worked with immediately knew.
Yeah.
And so that was rough.
Oh wait. I want to tell my story too right here, how I made a mess too, and oh my God, it took me about 10 years to undo that mess, and I never quite really undo that mess. Well, once I discovered that, right, and my whole sex opened up and everything, so it went back to our colleague. Went back. I contract to teach for a large school, right? And so the school is, we train coaches, and we're all big out there, and we're all about self-fulfillment and about playing the bigger game and freedom and everything. So I come running in, at a meeting, and I met the brand new executive director, and he's like, "Hi, May," blah, blah, and I'm like, and he's like, "What are you up to?" And I'm like, "Wow, do you want to hear the small version or the real version?" And he's like, "The big version, of course." And I'm like, "I discovered my sex and blah, 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 and I opened up my marriage and all this stuff, right?" And he's like so polite and so receiving of that, and it's like, "Nice to meet you." From then on, every time I lead with somebody, I always have to ask them the question, "All right, what have you heard about me? And what do we need to clear up?" And they always say, "Well, I hear that you're a little unpredictable and that you throw your sex all over the place and it's scary like heck." And then I have to go clean that up. Oh, my God. But I believe in transparency and fulfillment. That's what it looks like, right? Not such a smart thing to do.
It is really hard with the messiness. Like that, and in my new relationship, that's the other thing that I'm really learning is like how to be with all of this. I think you called it erotic power.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tone it down. Yeah. I don't know how to. I'm learning how to work with it, but it's who I am now. I can't tone it down, and it is messy.
And you don't want to turn it down. I think for me, it's only messy when I let the teenager control it. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to have some sense. I mean, it's been 7 years for me now since I've explored with my erotic power and let her out and do crazy things with it and tipped over a lot of precious vases and things like that, right? But but now I feel the adult come in and working with that, and it's so much more fun and much more conscious. But it's not easy. I hear you. Hey, I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, Eve is on the line, and she has a beautiful question for us. And I also see Stephen is on the line, too. So I'll open the line and include other people to come in, okay?
Okay.
So let's see. Where's my break? Here we go.
May is always looking for new angles on sex and lies to raise our consciousness. If you have ideas for a show, please contact her at may@mayvucoach.com. That's MAI@MAIVUcoach.com. Or go to her page on Facebook, Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. While there, please like her page and add your suggestion.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Oh, no, you can't disguise.
Welcome back, everyone. Stephen and Eve, I opened the phone line for you. Eve, I heard that you have a question for us.
I do.
Tell us. What's your question, honey?
My question is, how do I noticed that I am already reliving a pattern of taking care of my husband.
Could you speak closer to your mic so that we can hear you better?
Is that better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay.
About yourself. I mean, I see a little note here said that you and your husband are on board with opening up your relationship, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what?
And I notice that I'm already very much connected to my erotic power, and as soon as we sort of gave each other the green light, although I haven't done anything physically, I'm setting the path. I know it's going to happen. I know it's right around the corner. And I notice that my husband isn't on that same path. And so I worry about an imbalance of experiences and how that might affect our relationship. And I was just wondering if Susan, I think that's her name, I'm sorry, could speak to that a little bit.
We both could speak to that. We know about
yes.
imbalance in power. But you go first, Susan.
Well, Eve, thanks for such a great question. And wow, congrats on both of you being open to this. And I was totally I was digging your groove on what's going on. And then when you said, you worry about the imbalance, the first thing that came to me was you just can't worry about it. You be clear about what it is that you want. Be clear about, what you want for your husband. And again, I really do hold that, what you want for your relationship. And know that you just got to surrender and go with your desires. Follow them.
Sweet. I love it. I love the permission.
Well, let's get clear on the permission here. Permission to have messes, permission to be cruel, permission to break everything you have wide open. I mean, all of these sounds really, really unconventional, and I could just feel it. We could be stoned for saying stuff like this,
Mm-hmm,
but really, what I'm hearing in what you say is that there's so much in what you just said. Just that one sentence. I heard, a relationship where it's very typical, where the woman holds the man and do all the emotional work and everything, and now she wants out. She wants to move forward, and her man is looking to her and going, "I'm not ready. You can't do this to me." And all the guilt that we take on, that we carry for them, and all the taking care of for them to protect them from this. On the surface, it sounds like we're protecting them, but underneath it, we're also protecting ourselves from all the dark places that we're going to have to undo in ourselves. All the judgment that you may or may not know you have about yourself if you free up your sex, if you free up your desires.
And Eve, I want to just add one thing onto that. From my experience, when I let go and really followed my desire, it gave my husband permission to also act on his desires.
Interesting. Okay.
And me leading the way, he got the permission I think that he was needing, and it has absolutely transformed his life.
Yeah.
More than probably anything else we could have done together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really loved. I mean, first of all, I've been laughing with the two of you for however long you've been on air. So thank you for that. It's been so wonderful listening in, and I loved what you said about. First of all, what you said about an 8 life versus a 10 life, that was brilliant. And also what you said about, not feeling very well today, about happiness. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't remember because of different things that have been going on in my life last year and a half or so, the challenges that we've had with our kids and stuff. I can't even remember the last time I asked myself that question. I'm a coach, Yeah. So just give myself permission to say and to ask my husband and to ask myself, what's going to make you happy? I know my answer, already. And I can't wait until he gets home tonight because I'm going to ask him the same thing. So who knew that what?
I said
what?
Myself for tonight for you.
Yeah, I mean, who knew that could be such a liberating and an erotic question in and of itself?
Yeah, and it's also a very challenging question. I just wanted to like bring both. I wanted to champion the teenager energy that I feel in you right now. That like, whoa, mommy said I can go play.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play now.
Exactly.
Right, and at the same time, the compassion for your system. Your system means your husband, your marriage, your kids, all of that system is going to be shaken, and you're the one that is breaking it, and that you're the one that is shaking it up, and you're the one that it's like that Macintosh commercial back in 2000 or something like that, where that athlete woman come running in and threw the hammer up at the thing. Is it 1984? I forget when that thing came out. But anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah, and then she threw this big old hammer up at the big screen that is all gray and everything, and then here comes Apple. That is truly what you're doing to your system. And it's going to go through a breakage time, and that breakage time is really painful.
Well, that's a really good. I don't want to have a prediction that it is going to be that painful, although I have already shed tears. But I've had so many chiropractic adjustments in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and the chiropractor is like, there's some kind of underlying stress going on here. I don't know what it is, and I'm like, just have this like, I just have this grin on my face of like, oh really, you think so? And so I relate that to what you're saying. Like, yeah, there is something going on in it, and I am manifesting it, the stress of it, in my body. And so I appreciate your words because of that breaking open and surrendering to it more. I think maybe that'll make me feel a little bit more relaxed.
Well, and here's the thing that it got really clear to me that I never saw before. Again, that same image, like me taking a hammer and throw it up into this big screen. I had to watch the screen break. I cannot throw a hammer at a screen, at a big piece of glass, and deny that it's going to break, or that is surprised that it's going to break, or that wants it to break neatly and cleanly and not cut. That's the thing about this. It's like once you break a piece of glass, it's going to break. It's going to shatter. It's going to explode. And there's nothing wrong with that breakage or that explosion. It's our ability to really be present to it and really love every piece of the breakage, every tear that you shed to reach for your freedom and your desire, and every tear that everyone in your system that has to shed in order to help you achieve this. All of that is part of the picture. We can't go into this not wanting to see the breakage.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your words. I appreciate the discussion, and thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Let's talk a little bit about the husband part. like where they were stuck, and then how yours opened up like tremendously. And I
Well,
remember. Go ahead.
Susan, well, you're talking to Susan now, right?
I'm talking to both all of us. It's like.
Oh, okay.
I want to spend a little time on the husband piece and the system piece, because that is really a big component of this. Without it, it sounds like we're just a bunch of floozy whore who just like can't control our pussy, and off we go, and it's all about us, and we don't care about anyone else, and that tends to be where people lump us into it, and it's actually not that.
Right. And I know for me, I mean, I like in that guilt phase that you said at the beginning, May. There was a tremendous amount, and I wanted only the best for him, and to this day, that's all I want too. I love him, I respect him. I'm in an open relationship, and I've had another partner for a year and a half, and even though I don't see or talk to my husband as much, we're still married, and he lives in a different state now, but again, we're still married.
So wait, let's fill that blank in, because that's an important blank. So you said, I want to do this boy, and then and yes, and I love my husband. I love my husband, and I didn't want that relationship to change. Yeah. And for probably a month and a half, 2 months, I thought, okay, well, I love my boy, Andy, and I love Paul, my husband. So what am I going to do? I don't want it to change. I want both. Yeah. Why can't I have both? Yeah. And everybody told me I couldn't have both. Well, no, you can't have both. They're not going to agree to that. You're not going to be happy. And all I could see in my mind's eye was that's what I wanted. So that's what I asked for. And it wasn't easy. I sat down one day and talked to Paul about it, and I said I want Andy to move in, because what was happening was like I was splitting my time up between being at home and being with Andy. Right. And I was split, I was fractured, and I was not able to take it any longer. Yeah. So, let's see, I talked to him about it. The next night, Andy came over to meet him and to say, hey, is this going to work? Can we try it out? And he's open to it. And we coexisted for a month. Great. It was like we had our own little family. It was tense, and it was weird, and to say the least. And people definitely didn't know what to do with it. We would go out together. Our friends didn't know what to do. Some friends walked away and couldn't be with it. And yet, we kept checking in with each other, like the three of us, like we're happy, and that's what made it work. And my husband decided through the transition that he was really stuck in that place of him personally being stuck. He decided what he wanted was to move and live at the beach. So that's always been his dream. That's not what I wanted. He's living at the beach now, and he's done all the things that he dreamed about doing. Wow. Yeah, and it's great. And like you said, I was laughing when May, you were talking about the shattering of the relationship. In it, I wasn't ready for that. I was ready. I had a perfect picture in mind, and I thought, well, that's gonna be the way it worked out. I really did. Yes, I know the innocence of this. It's really sweet. The innocence and the denial, and also the the wimpiness. Like I found myself very wimpy. I'm like, oh my God, I'm breaking this thing, and then I ran away from the sharpness of the broken glass, and I'm like, honey, you don't get to run away from the sharpness of the broken glass. You broke the glass. You have to sit here and look at these pieces coming down. And the more I could look at them, and the more I could enter into those conversations, then it starts to heal. Then those broken glasses lose their sharp edges, and it starts to shape a new picture. But if I run away from it, it would have left a big mess, and it never got clean.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's such a good analogy.
Yeah. So anyway, this is not for the lighthearted.
No, and I would say that as difficult and challenging and hard and hurtful as it has been at those times dealing with those shards of glass,
yeah,
I would never change it in a million years.
Yeah.
I would never go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so much happier.
Yeah. Gosh, I could just see this conversation now needs to go to another place, which is, and then what happened? Does she live happily ever after with a young prince? Or, what else? Because it's we're writing a different myth. We're writing a different fairy tale story, and the kind that hasn't been written before, or the kind that hasn't been written in popular magazine, or Disney hasn't quite gotten onto it, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how Eve feels about it, but I sure feel like I've always felt like I'm a trailblazer, and I know that I do have some people in my life that have stretched out and grown into this area, but it is scary to kind of be out there without a lot of guidance, and it's not easy, and it's not easy when people, friends abandon you.
Yeah.
That was, I guess I was not surprised that it happened. It just still hurts that it happened.
Yeah, it's like, this is a new territory, the place where us women openly owning our own sex, owning our sexuality, owning our sex, owning our desire, and not hand it over to kind of slip it under a marriage or slip it under a wedding ring, and not trade it away for security, but like, you know what? I own my own sexuality. I own my orgasm. I own my desire. I own my body. I get to use it and play with it with anybody I want to.
Right.
And I really like you, and I want to play with you. And then I may like someone else, or, and instead of just trading everything for that fairy tale of like, and we live happily ever after. It's just, it's a new ending.
Right, and I don't, what I know is that I don't know what the ending is.
Yeah. And we have to be really comfortable with that, right? Because we I don't know about you, but the little girl in me that was trained under the Disney model of relationship, like she wants a marriage back. She wants a bigger wedding ring on her finger and a bigger house. Maybe it's an opportunity to trade up this time, rather than she's kind of wandering around going, wait a minute, why are we single? And what? Who? Am I gonna get married again? Like, do I get a new wedding? A new, So like, to really bust that story and be good with the prospect of like, you know what? I'm gonna have lots of lovers and lots of people, and I don't know if I'm gonna end up at the end of my life with someone.
Right.
Or maybe with many ones, Who knows?
Who knows? And what just kind of like tapped in for me was the fact that through really owning my erotic power and letting it be expressed in the world, I feel now like I have the confidence to do whatever it is that I want to do.
Yeah.
That, it goes back to me, like, if I just get clear about what I really want, everything is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I manifested this whole life of mine as what happened, and I feel like I'm so powerful, and
Yeah.
I can do anything.
And you're so loved. You are so loved, Like, I want to, finish the show out with really appreciating your husband and my ex-husband on how much they loved us and what it took for them to get here with us, and what a great man your husband was and still is to co-create this with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
High five on that one, man. Yeah. I so agree. And it's so wonderful not to have the experience of having to make him the villain in order to make this happen. To write a new story.
Right.
You see the knight in shining armor.
In a different version.
Right.
a different way of knight in shining armor. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It truly is, and it just brings out all of us, what we're capable of for each other. And
exactly.
My guess is your conversation with him are much more honest now than it was ever before.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I don't pussyfoot around things anymore.
and then you don't have to. And you probably don't have to pussyfoot about other things in your life either.
Exactly.
Funny how that works, isn't it? All right, honey. Thank you so much for our lovely conversation. It was just very heartfelt, and thank you for your genuineness and for slowing down your stories with me so that we can really, capture what it was like in that few moments where we open this up and say, honey, I want more. It's one of the most courageous conversations that a woman can have with her husband. Yeah, and to trust him and to trust yourself. So thank you. You want to tell them a little bit about you and what you do and how they can find you if they need to find you?
Oh, sure. So, I am. I was telling May earlier that she used the word provocateur in the Sex, Lies, and Consciousness information, and I love that word provocateur. I also describe myself as a taboo tickler. So I love to eradicate any type of taboo. I am currently, my website is undergoing a rehaul to make it more relationship-centric because that's my work in the world. But you can find me at SusanSeibert.com, so it's SusanSeybert.com.
Great.
Yeah, thank you again, May.
Thank you so much. And for me, I work with individuals and couples who are in crisis with their sex lives and connections. You can find or connect with me on Facebook. My Facebook fan page is Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. And latest news, I finally created a website to support these shows. I see that I need to create a community and a place, a container. In fact, I'm actually enrolling Susan and Joni to run this site with me, so that we can have longer, richer, deeper conversations with you guys about sex, lives, and consciousness. So if you would like to see the construction in progress, just feel free to go to Sex, Lives, and Consciousness. The page is just, halfway here and there and that kind of stuff, but we're definitely building that together. Next week, I have something completely different for us, and I hope you will also be there, Susan. But next week, I'm bringing our consciousness level up a notch. I'm adding culture to our show, not just sexy woman wants more sex in their life, but not like there's anything wrong with that. But next week, I'm going to talk about sex in the Middle East. I've always been so curious about that whole region, and especially how they handle their sex, their lives, and their consciousness. And so I round myself up a couple of really great buddies who are living over there, and they're gonna share with us and with me what they encounter and what they are learning from the culture and how the sex play out in the Middle East. I cannot wait for that conversation. And thank you everyone for listening to my show, Sex, Lies, and Consciousness, the voice of healthy sex. My ultimate goal is to help us get a hold of our sex, own it, play with it, have power over it. Let it fully serve us and bring us joy and freedom. Talk to you next time. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Eve and Stephen, for being here. And Susan, have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. You can find May on Facebook by liking her page, Sex, Lies, and Consciousness, or hang out with her on Google+. To find her, type in the URL gplus.to/Meivu, gplus.to/MAIVU.